not.
Earth is not a globe. The Earth is flat. Free information.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna.
Yeah, of course. Everybody here does.
There you go.
Try to find one person here that don't believe in it.
Y'all believe that Earth is flat?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
All right. Circle don't hold water. Can a circle hold water?
But that's why we have gravity.
Man, which gravity are you referring
I
to?
know.
Newtonian gravity or Einsteinian gravity? Do you know the difference?
Einsteinian gravity.
What's the difference between Einsteinian gravity and Newtonian gravity?
I really don't know. Could you break that down to me, please?
So the Einsteinian gravity is a bending of space-time. That's the difference between Newtonian gravity.
Exactly. And that's why we got what we call time. That's how time is different depending upon the gravity where you are.
Time's just a concept.
It definitely is a concept.
But we base our time based on the sky because the wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
Yeah.
The sky is a clock and a map. So that would not work if we're blasting through space at 500,000 miles an hour.
Oh, exactly. That's why if you were in space, maybe a year would pass and maybe it would be like, what, 1,000 years on Earth, a couple thousand years or something like that? Because it's all relative to the gravity of where you are.
What we're saying is the sky's a map because we're not moving through space. Because the sky moves, Earth is stationary, always has been stationary, never will move. It's immovable.
Do you
Sound
believe
like my nephew who lives in Texas.
Do you believe that the universe is expanding?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Expanding from where? What, an edge?
I
It would have to be expanding from an edge. Well, what's it expanding into? And where's the edge? That's all just assumption.
Do you believe in black holes?
Of course not.
So you don't believe in black holes?
Of course not.
How has it been
all
proven that there is
No,
such a thing?
Hear me out on this. All space is fake.
All
So,
space is fake.
Nebulas and all that stuff, black holes, light years, that's all fake.
We can see things, we just don't know what they are. Like we can see it, they're called Messier objects. That's what they used to call like the nebulas and the galaxies. They were called Messier objects, and they're just like, you know, clusters of stars or whatever. But
Have you heard of Neil
never
deGrasse
know.
Tyson?
Yes.
He'll tell you.
I had a book
he'll tell you
about
that
Neil
we're
deGrasse Tyson. 96%. We're 96. Oh man, I
We don't
bet
know
it'd be
anything about
99.
If you Google pictures of the solar system, bro, they're all cartoons. This is a religion based on cartoon space. So cartoons are not real, right?
Okay.
You know, they're cartoons. So just because they show you cartoons of space, planets, and black holes, nebulas, and all, that doesn't make it real. That just makes it real fake.
Okay.
You know. So they're faking it all and stealing $50 million a day. That's why we're out here, dude.
Still like 50 million. A day.
How did your
NASA
donation go
gets
last year?
50 million.
NASA?
You gave $70 to NASA last year. How'd it go?
It's all right there.
We lose the doctor.
Hey, you know what? I believe the government really is full of shit, though.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, I mean, they're definitely full of shit. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, true that.
Either way, I don't care
How
what
do
they
you
did, as long as
how
I'm
do
on
you
the ground.
explain these other galaxies
God bless you.
and stars and all of that? How can you explain all of that?
Have you seen them?
Through a telescope? Yeah.
I don't claim to
So
know
we
what they
see
are.
lights up in the sky. That's all we see. We don't know what. It's there, like you said, a clock. You know, everything's there for us.
Until I get a sample of star to like do experiments on, we can just guess what it is.
But here's the thing.
Comets and meteors. though.
Here's the thing.
I've never found a
Asteroids.
comet or a meteor.
Here's the thing you have to understand.
That's all
We
part
now
of your space
have
religion.
cameras that we can shoot. They're called the P900 and P1000. He had one. We can see what the star actually is now. We can focus in that far with this camera. We have them on. I think they have some of it. But you can focus in and see that it's not a planet. It's some kind of.
Well, I said, a
Electrical
star
wave.
is not a planet.
Well, that but
No,
they.
stars and planets are different.
But here's what you have to do. Are they different?
Yeah.
And my Bible says that God created all the stars and put them inside the firmament, which were the ones that were named by the Romans after their gods, which are Mercury, Venus. Then if you go by those are gods that sacrifice children. So you're worshiping those gods that are spitting up there and some.
Not worship them, just acknowledge them because they're real, just like us.
Worship is
Acknowledging-
acknowledgement of
Tangible.
worship.
I'll say that right
But
there.
when you acknowledge them, like, for instance, I'm not saying you are. What I'm doing is using as an example. For instance, the rest of the world looks up and says, hey, we're going back to the moon. So we're going to give homage to the lunar moon because we think we've been there, we think we're going to go there. The rest of the world says, yeah, we're going to go there. So now it's a spirit that comes over the earth, and they say, we're going to the moon. Hey, we've been to the moon, we're great, we're the greatest Americans in the world, we've been to the moon, where'd you go? You ain't never been to the moon, it was just a film.
I've never had a copyright strike.
I mean, it's just like saying, do you believe in Santa? We tell our kids it's Santa, but then when we grow up, we find out there's no Santa. It's the same thing. And then when you see, here's the problem. We tell them about the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and Santa. Then we sell them space. Now they grow up and find out that Santa's a lie, Easter Bunny's a lie, the Tooth Fairy's a lie. Is God a lie or is space a lie? Now let's look at that. What? I'm 100% no God. Yes. See it everywhere. It's all around us. His energy, his film. He's you, me, together.
I understand this concept with what you're saying about flat Earth. So, but basically, what would make me think that this is real is, you know, of course we got sonar and we got radar.
It only works out like that. It doesn't work around the world. Even
but whenever the sonar or the radar was to hit an object, say you send your sonar out, and then boom, you know, everything that bounces back and the distance that it bounces back from, you know it's going to be an object right there. Right. Whatever keeps going, you know, obviously there's nothing there to reflect off of.
We got people doing.
What about radar?
And
LiDAR.
We got people doing.
Hold on. Sorry. Radar has to bounce off something, right?
Yes,
to come back.
Absolutely.
So let me say, what is it bouncing off on this?
Was it bouncing off of?
What is up here to bounce it off of?
I would say the atmosphere.
So what holds that atmosphere in from the vacuum of space?
If I take an aerosol can and stick an aerosol can and stick a hole in the side,
so you're
the
saying
gas
that
escapes.
gas is holding gases.
Yeah. No, I would say
that
this right here is tangible, and everything that has mass has a gravitational pull.
That can't be true because when I passed the car earlier on the road, I was going faster and I was bigger than him, and he didn't pull along with me. He got left
But
behind.
he felt the wind off of it. Have you ever had a Mack truck come by in your car shakes?
Yeah, but then he should pull me along with it because that's the second law of
That's drafting.
thermodynamics.
That's different.
But the power of that gravity.
But I
I'm
should've
sure if
been-
it was something big enough, actually it will. Like, you know, if you drive behind a Mack truck, just the wind and the force behind it will actually let you coast along behind
That's
it.
drafting
and
because
say,
there's no force to wind
That's
on.
But
not-
if it
that's
didn't
not
have any
gravity.
gravity, it
That's
wouldn't
not
have
gravity.
any drag.
That's not gravity. That's the theory of aerodynamics.
Yeah, that's the theory of it.
But what we're talking about, you need mass. That's obviously mass that's moving through our time-space continuum, moving through air.
So
And
here's
what
what
that
you're
does
saying.
is creates that drive.
What
Correct?
you're saying to me,
Right, but which gravity are you referring to?
Gravity.
here's
Which
what you're
whichever
saying.
one.
You're saying this bigger rock will attract this smaller rock.
No, that's not
the
what I'm saying.
That's the law of thermodynamics.
What I'm saying is, if both objects were moving through the air, you know, it's moving through the space.
They didn't draw
You feel what I'm
together.
saying?
They went down.
It's not enough momentum.
That's
It's not
called-
enough
that's called-
velocity.
That's called kinetic energy. What I just did was kinetic energy. It wasn't gravity. What happens is they fooled you with gravity, so you think this is some secret force, some special force holding us to a wall. But the problem with that is water can't be held to a rock. You're saying that a rock, this is the Earth, a rock, and then they're putting water around it, the oceans, and then they're spinning it, which is centrifugallage, which would throw it out. Even Dante's comet proved that the comet was hurling in the sky in the 1800s, and it was hurling everything outward. Your dryer, that when you put your clothes in your dryer, it throws everything outward. So the very spin, when you get on a merry-go-round, we're still under this gravitation that you call this force, that you call gravity, and we get on a merry-go-round, and if I sit in the middle, parts of me is being thrown different ways, only in the middle, but if I'm on the edges, I get thrown off.
Oh yeah,
How does that work under gravity? How does a butterfly fly under gravity? How does a little flea fly, or a little gnat fly under this gravity if it's holding thousands and thousands of pounds of water? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't have all that water being held by this little thin gravity if it can't hold this little bug. And what about the dust particles? Dust particles everywhere on the Earth. How come they don't just fall to the ground? Or how come they're not attracted to a bigger rock or something? See what I'm saying? Like, if you have two jets flying in the air at the same speed, they're not drawn together.
How was your trip?
And they're at a high velocity.
Yeah.
Talk to you about it a little
SR-71
bit.
does Mach 3. That's 2,100 miles per hour. The pilot said that
They have equal amount of velocity though. Therefore, neither one is it cancels out.
In a straight line, it's 2,000 miles per hour. How can you do that on a ball? Let me show you.
Yeah,
America's about 2,300 miles across, right? Roughly 23, 20. So they said they fly the SR-71. That's this jet right here. They say they fly it from here to here in less than an hour in a straight line. How would that be possible if it's curved?
Fly it straight.
You can't fly straight. You just said you can't fly straight on a curve. It's either curved or it's straight. There's a line. Is this table curved or straight? Flat or straight? Well, it's curved. But if I was to fly a plane over it, would the plane fly for the curvature or would it fly up and stay level?
I don't see why it would.
Well, what does it dip its nose for curvature? At 2,000 miles per hour, do you think that they have time to dip their nose? They said it takes a matter of 200 miles an hour just to do a turn. So if they had to keep dipping their nose, they would fly off into space.
Let me ask you this question. This is kind of the same
He's
thing.
a pilot.
So I've been up there and there is no curve. None of my flight plans ever involved a curve. So let's say I'm flying from New York to LA. It takes 3.5 hours to fly there. I'm flying with the rotation of the Earth. Now I'm going to fly from LA back to New York. It also takes 3.5 hours. Yet I'm flying against the rotation of the Earth. How does it take the exact same time to travel both distances?
That is a good question.
And when I go up in the air and I set my autopilot, I take a look at my gyroscope, which has nothing to do with gravity or air pressure. It's setting rigidity in space, right? So when I see that my gyroscope is level, rigid in space, I set my autopilot and I continue flying. Now, if the Earth was curved, it would curve below me as I kept flying along, and my altitude would change. But my altitude does not change. The altimeter remains the same because the Earth does not curve below you.
So you really don't believe that the Earth is curved?
No, there's no evidence of that. Let's say you have a basketball, right? That's a sphere. Is there a flat, no matter how tight you zoom in on the basketball, you're not going to see a flat spot.
What I would think is, because of, okay, I feel you with the curvature of the Earth, but because of the sheer distance and the gravitational pull, I think that would level it out.
They would have to nose down at 500 miles an hour. A 737 would have to dip down a mile every 2 minutes to keep up with the curvature of the Earth. A plane doesn't do that. I've flown in planes without electronics, where it was all done manually, and I don't account for the curve. So how is that possible?
Maybe because of the angle.
No. I look at my gyroscope. It's rigid in space. That's how a gyroscope works. I am completely level. I set my autopilot. I maintain level, and the Earth does not curve below me. If the Earth was round, it would curve at 8 inches per mile squared, but it doesn't, because that's the formula for a curve.
8 inches per mile.
8 inches per mile squared.
Per mile squared.
So I've gone out to Lake Marion myself, and I set a camera up 3 feet off the surface of the water. 11 miles away, I put a post above the water, three feet up, with a camera on it. I went back with a mirror on it. I went back to my camera, zoomed in on the mirror from 11 miles away, and I could see it. It should be hidden by 7 feet of curvature. Not only can I see the mirror, I can see the entire pole. Where's the curve? Now, I just demonstrated there's a flat spot. How can you have a flat spot on a sphere? Once you have a flat spot on a sphere, it's no longer a sphere.
Maybe that only applies to water because water levels itself out.
Okay, you're right. Exactly. Water is always level, whether it's in a cup, bathtub, pond, lake, ocean. It's called sea level. Horizon, it's horizontal line. So you just agreed that water's level, right? Yeah. 71% of the Earth is water. Where is it curving?
Maybe it's relative to the point where it is because of the gravity.
Once I find a flat spot on a sphere, you can no longer be on a sphere. I can go multiple locations all around the world, thousands of locations, and find flat spots. If everywhere is flat, where's the curve?
I can feel what you're saying, but I know that gravity will,
It doesn't take gravity out of the equation. Doesn't matter.
What all is on the CD?
Experiments like the ones I'm telling you about. The penny going across the table, showing you how things disappear from the bottom up, even on a flat surface. That's on there. Let me give you a quick demonstration with these models I got here.
Carbon line is a 360 view of those.
All right, so here's the sun, here's the Earth. We're going to give it a 33-degree tilt like they claim it is. All right, so this is noon because it's facing the sun. Can we agree on that? All right, this rotates at the same speed every day. So once it's noon again, we're facing this direction. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 180. Where's noon at on this ball?
Opposite side, I guess.
Exactly, but we just established that noon's here. This did not change speed. So this is always noon. Now 180 days later, noon is this word again on the here, but it's facing away from the sun. So how's it daylight at noon? Now let's fast forward back here. On day 1, we're on this side of the Earth and it's dark. And we look up in the sky and we see constellations because we're facing that side of the universe. 180 days later, when it's dark, we're facing the opposite side of the universe, yet we see the same constellations at night. How is that possible?
Like, here's one map idea.
That's a good question.
All right. Another thing with this. So what's between the Earth and the sun? You got Mercury, Venus, Earth, correct? So in order for it to be dark, we have to be facing away from the sun. Venus is on this side of the Earth. Earth is here. Darkness is on this side. At nighttime, like in this video, we can see Venus at night. Explain how that works on a globe model. There's no angle it can be night and you see Venus at the same time. Because we're facing that direction. Venus is on the other side of the planet, so how is that possible? Yet we can go tonight and look in the sky and see it.
You got a valid point, man. I mean, also, you really making me think. You know what I'm saying? You're really making me think.
And in the videos that you've seen of space and stuff, here's one from the other day. This is from NASA. This is the SpaceX Dragon launch.
The moon.
You're gonna have to get a little bit closer to look at this, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is. Just look right in this area here, and you're gonna see something that's impossible. If this was really filmed in space,
the sun makes 24 hours.
What is that?
The moon makes like 23 hours.
What that do?
But on the globe model, they say
What is it doing?
You see what's going on there?
rotating, but the Earth is also rotating.
You see the rat walking on the outside of the spaceship?
This is kind of like a more
In space, it's breathing in space, and standing on top of an engine that's thousands of degrees. This is from NASA's website.
commercial.
They claim this is actual footage. So how is that possible?
And it's supposedly no air. You don't know.
Not only can it not breathe, but it's standing on top of an engine that's thousands of degrees.
And not only that, with no gravity,
You know,
how could it even?
you would fall off the edge, right?
I mean, the gravity of that wouldn't even be strong enough to hold it if gravity is real. I kind of feel what you're saying. Now that's some bullshit. I don't. You should have. You serious?
Serious, yes.
You're gonna get to sit there and watch the
That is fucking ridiculous.
This is what our world looks like right here. We sent a balloon up. This is the footage we captured with the balloon. Earth is flat, sun is close and localized, and that's why sunsets work like this.
still follow the latitude.
This is what you see with your eyes, but if you zoom in at 83x, this is what actually happens. So people think the sun sets and goes over a horizon, which proves a curve, but this is what actually happens. The sun merely fades out. It's like
Why does it fade out? If it's constantly above us, why does it even fade
right.
out?
So it's traveling around the plane of the Earth, like on this map here, which is conveniently the United Nations logo, the flat Earth map. So the sun travels along the Tropic of Cancer and
That's why I
around
wonder why they didn't
in the
use
Tropic
that
of
fucking
Capricorn. Yeah, all these military symbols and government agencies, they all use a flat Earth map because that's the real world we live in.
Yeah, just like I heard about how people fly from here to China and shit like that, and it's like through a weird ass pattern that wouldn't even be like that if the Earth was curved.
Exactly. So when I flew to China and South Korea, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, all the flights I've taken, we come in through northern Russia. If I leave from New York and I fly into China or Japan or any of the places I've been, we always flew in through northern Russia. Why would an airline pay all this extra money for fuel to take this crazy indirect flight that only works unless it's a flat Earth?
And they definitely, they're like,
Oh, so we got me thinking. I'm definitely gonna check this damn video out, man.
This is what would happen to a spaceship in space. That's what happens when you introduce a vacuum to just a rail car. And that's not even the infinite vacuum of space. It's going to show you one more time.
What kind of vacuum was it?
It's just a small vacuum applied to this. That's what happens.
Suck it in.
Exactly. So how would that spaceship...
How was that vacuum created? Using what?
They created a vacuum chamber in it. There's machines that can create a vacuum chamber inside that. And it just crushes it instantly. Yet when there's a small hole in the space station, they plug it with their finger. Come on, suck your finger through the hole. Liquidize it. Yeah. Instantly. Instantaneous.
Hey, you making a little sense, man. Making a little sense, man. Space is fake. Wow.
So
So how long have you been believing this?
Here's a
man?
piece of paper to
Been
take
at it
with
for
you.
about 5 years now.
About 5 years?
Yeah, about mid 2015. Everybody's on a kind of a different level of path of when they become woke to it. But most of us here, I would say 2015, mid 2015 or so. Yeah, and most of us went into this trying to debunk that the Earth was flat. We were trying to
that's
prove.
what I'm trying to do now. But
Yeah,
y'all
we
making
were
the case.
trying to prove that the Earth was not flat. All of us were not having it. But once we started looking into it, looking into the research of it, we found that all of those things that they were telling us are a lie. An absolute lie.
Yeah, there's 5 hours of content on
NASA
there.
gets about 55 to 60,000.
5 hours on here?
On that DVD she's got.
NASA gets about 55 to 60 million dollars a day, but yet we have had the we got smartphones, but we don't have the technology to get us back to the moon. Did we even go to the moon in the first place?
hell no.
No, we didn't. You know why? Because the stuff. Yeah, well, the
Those are
stuff
tests you can do
that
at
they
home.
made the lunar thing to go
5
to
easy
it
tests
with
you can do to prove the Earth is not a globe.
withstand the heat of the Van Allen radiation belt. NASA admits that they cannot penetrate the Van Allen radiation belt. So how could they have even gone to space in the beginning? They've only admitted to being able to go to low Earth orbit, and that's where you will see maybe some of the satellites that they have on weather balloons and things like that up there. But everything that you see that NASA has given us is CGI. It's computer generated imaging. It's artistry painted into the depiction of what they want you to believe that it is. And you can actually think with your own mind, since kindergarten, this has been in the classroom. This is what we live on. We spin at 1,038 miles per hour. But our observation, our senses, our God-given senses do not tell us that.
You know what? I'm glad that
We
you're opening
observe
up at
that we
least.
live on a flat
discussing this.
stationary
This is his
Earth
third time
because
here.
every time we go to a beach
Not
or
today.
to a
I
lake,
know they enjoy it.
and undisturbed water levels out flat. You know, but how can water form to a ball? They say gravity,
No, not third time
but
today.
gravity
Third
is
time
just a
over like the
theory.
past few months.
It's actually buoyancy and
I've got
density.
videos of him.
And something that's lighter will
stop.
float, something that's heavier will drop, you know. And we ourselves is electromagnetism. We are made out of frequency. If I rub my feet on the carpet and actually shake your hand or touch you, we shock each other because we are all frequency. We are all electromagnetism. The Earth is electromagnetism. And that's how our Creator created it for such a thing like that. Like, see, that sun, NASA tells us that the sun is 93 million miles away. But yet, we see and observe that it's much closer than that, and we feel that it's much closer than that. And that's because it is. The sun and the moon are above us in a timepiece. There's this little here that I like to show everyone, because in the Bible it says that God made a firmament to separate the waters from above from the waters below. So we actually live in a terrarium, almost like a snow globe, you know? So that's what we like to share with people, because we've been lied to and thinking that we're insignificant. We're just a speck of dust just in this big old world, and we mean nothing to nothing. But guess what? That's not true. We all are significant. God knew what color your eyes were going to be before you're born. He knew how many hairs on your head you're going to have. You are significant. You were created for a purpose. And that's what we're out here trying to share with people, because, you know, people go along in this life feeling depressed, feeling feeling like they're insignificant. They don't have anything to bring to the table.
They're
And we're
trying to
trying
make
to tell you
they're trying to figure out how to travel through solid objects.
Come on,
There's
man.
over 200 scriptures in the Bible that depict that we live on a stationary flat earth. And we're just sharing that the
Chasing them
government
down?
is lying to us. And we just want people to wake up to the truth that this is the earth that God created. And if you only read Genesis chapter 1, you don't even have to be a believer, but just read the Genesis chapter 1 through 17. I cried because I've read the Bible so many times in my life, but I've never heard the actual story of the creation and how He created it. And so I reread it again. I never knew that He actually created a firmament to divide the waters from the
As a
above.
kid, like 17.
Isaiah 40:22. She can
It's
quote
my
it for you.
favorite.
They say we asleep.
Yeah, Isaiah 40:22 is He who sitteth upon the circle of the earth. This is the circle of the earth. The white part represents the ice wall that surrounds our earth, that holds in like a container. This is the firmament, okay? The firmament, have you ever wondered why a rainbow is the shape that it is? A rainbow is the shape that it is because it is reflecting the glass dome firmament above us. Dome shape. The rainbow is dome shape. It's actually a circle, a complete circle. If you really looked into it, a rainbow is a complete full circle. But we only see half of it because of the cutoff.
If I talk to you long enough, it will be flat.
So yeah.
Just from the erosion.
You guys, do you have any questions?
Hey, man. Oh, yeah, I got
I know you have a ton of questions. Tommy's here almost every Saturday, and I'm sure that we'll probably be joining him here as the weather starts getting warmer. Yeah,
What
nicer.
about, how do y'all feel about this global warming thing?
That's not real. It's climate change.
It's a lie.
Climate change?
The
That's what my brother thinks.
we believe the government is actually heating up the earth themselves.
I do, but I don't think that they're doing it purposely. I think that, well, they're doing it purposely.
They are in
obviously.
Antarctica. They're trying to melt the ice because they're interested in what has been trapped in the ice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's things that have been frozen solid into the ice, and they're like wanting to melt the ice wall to see what they can find. Admiral Byrd, right?
Yep.
He is he explored Antarctica, and he said in his video that there is mass land in Antarctica that we don't even know about, that is as large as the United States. Isn't that what he said?
That's correct.
As large as the United States. They are hiding things from us. They are hiding that there's plentiful oil. They're hiding that there's plentiful diamonds and gems and stuff, but yet they're going to charge us astronomical prices for a diamond ring, because we're just gullible like that. We want to do it. We want it, right? But yet, the elite, the higher people that run this world, like the Rothschilds and all of these people that bought the earth, and so they run it how they want to run it, and they lie to us about things because we're like little puppets, and
Go to a
they
foreign
just
country.
want.
The only thing is, it's just not chiseled. It's not broken down.
Right.
They're
Why are
really
we the
taking
only?
away. They're really taking away.
Why are we the only country to have fluoride in our water? You go to other countries and they're like, absolutely, we don't have fluoride in our water. Why would we want to poison our people?
Yeah, hey, look.
I think there's a few. I think Canada is.
They have it
I
too.
think so.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah, that probably would have been.
That's because it's affecting the
Or with the U.S.
penile gland.
Yes, girl. On point. Yes. And you know what?
Yeah. Right.
I'm half kind of
That's a
man.
good. That's a good habit to
I
get.
did.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have,
Not say
those of us
America,
who are
so
woke
that-
have
Yeah. We say, we don't think
Could I
about
get
it.
blocked?
Central America, South America, they be like, what are you talking about? We're all America.
It's almost like a program.
We all.
And when that,
Yep.
when you open that, your eyes become.
You got any more good questions?
It's mind blowing, dude. I can't wait to watch this CD, man. I want to see what all this
All kinds of good stuff.
But see, I kind of thought to myself, maybe like, with all the carbon emissions and all the carbon that's going into the atmosphere, or so-called atmosphere, you know, wouldn't that heat up the Earth by itself? You know, just from all the energy, all the kinetic energy. You know what I'm saying? All of these cars, plants, I mean, all of the concrete that's out here.
Yeah.
I just feel like all that together would be something that would heat the Earth by itself. You don't think so?
I gave you an insert in that DVD with a bunch of different channels on it, and they all have different topics that cover stuff like that. And my channel is called That Flat Fellow. You can watch our interview on TV on the YouTube.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah, man. You'll see all the good points you were making. Live right up the road. And all these people live around here, and they come out here and help support. We pay for all this stuff out of our own pocket and give everything away.
Flat earthers. I done heard people trying to they be trying to debunk the flat earth theory and all this. I mean, you know it's all on the internet. You know what I'm saying? It's all
Which is why there's a $200,000 prize for anyone that can prove the Earth is a globe, and the money's still sitting there.
It's a $200,000 prize. Right?
Yeah.
From who? Who's giving out
Flat Earth Millionaire. You can look him up on YouTube. He'll tell you just where to submit your evidence to that the Earth is a globe. You prove it's a globe, you get your money.
That was the guy that went to court, right?
No, that was Zen Garcia. That's the second guy that's offering money.
$5,000?
$10,000. So you can actually get $210,000 if you can prove it.
210.
Yeah, because there's two different prizes.
What? So one guy got 110, the other got 100,000.
But the prize money's been out there for years with Zen Garcia, but no one can claim it because
nobody can prove it.
I mean, they went to court over it, and one guy said he had evidence. In court, the judge ruled the Earth was flat. So.
In the court, the judge ruled it Earth.
Burrow County, Georgia.
Wow. Get out of
right
here,
up the road.
Man. That's crazy. I gotta check. I gotta get that some more thought, man. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I was like, man, these fuckers are crazy.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. That's the first thing I said, man. These fuckers are crazy.
That's what I thought.
We all were born into flat Earth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what made y'all start even believing it? Just
My buddy said, "Hey, have you heard about flat Earth?" And I said, "Man, I'm about to tell you how crazy you are. I'm gonna go and show you." I went and looked for the evidence and couldn't find none. It took me 3 months, and after that, I was like, "You know, he's right." He told me about. I said, "I've seen pictures." He said, "Where'd you see pictures at?" I said, "I can log on NASA's website and see photos of Earth." He said, "All right, go do that, but look below what you think are photos." It says artist rendering, illustration, not a photo. It credits the artist for the person that drew it.
But never calls it a photo.
It's not a photo. The only two photos they claim are real is one of them's right here. It's called the blue marble. But if you look close at it, look, it's copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. All the clouds are the same, copy pasted. It's not real. The other photo they claim is real is the photo that was taken on the moon of the Earth in the moon sky. Now the Earth is 8 times larger than the moon. So when you look at the Earth in the moon sky, it should be 8 times larger than the moon is in our sky. Yet,
Common sense, right?
they're the exact same size. When I look up in our sky, I can see how big the moon is. And I look at that photo that was supposedly real, and the Earth is the same size the moon is in our sky. How is that possible?
And look at the different sizes of the United States on the same size ball. Those look like the same? Those are the same size? No.
Did they teach you in school who started NASA? Do you know who started NASA? Werner von Braun and Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And many Nazi scientists brought over from Project Paperclip, brought over from after Germany after the World War II.
I mean, NASA's logo. If you look at NASA's logo, look at that shape. What is that?
Yeah,
If you extend, no, just the red part.
Oh, it's the tongue of a snake.
Of a snake,
That's what it is.
the liar, the deceiver. It's the tongue of a snake, and they put it right in their logo.
I fucking believe
And
it.
NASA in
Why else
Hebrew,
would they have that shit?
NASA in Hebrew, I believe it is, means to deceive.
That is
in
actually
plain sight. Or something.
Actually, I just spoke with someone recently that speaks Hebrew, Ash News, and he said he didn't know where that came from. NASA does not actually mean that in Hebrew. No.
That's
So
what
I just
they
want
mean in Hebrew?
to, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I just learned that myself. I've heard that a lot, but I spoke to someone that spoke Hebrew, and he said he didn't know where that came from. But
I used to Google it and it would say it.
and now it doesn't for some reason.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
say
thought
it.
it was similar, but not exact. I thought it was like Nasha or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember saying.
Do you remember this Challenger? So we found all the people. They're still alive today. This guy here is a professor at University of Wisconsin.
Retired.
Retired.
The Challenger supposedly blew up, right?
Yeah, and I thought these people died, but we can go out and we can find them and talk to them today.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
Look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. Look at that smile. Look at that smile. The nose. They're 30 years older than they were then.
Get the fuck out of here.
Now go back and watch the
Look
footage.
at this guy. Look at him.
Watch the footage from the Challenger explosion. You know when you were younger, or even nowadays, when you go out and you see a storm, you see lightning, and then you hear the thunder a few seconds later, and you can see how far away the storm is, because the light and sound don't travel the same speed.
Yeah.
But if you watch the video from the Challenger explosion, you see it explode and you hear it at the same time.
That's incorrect.
If it's 40 miles away, it should have been a delay.
Yeah, at least a second.
Exactly. That's how we know stuff's fake.
At least a half a fucking second. Or
No, it should be 40 seconds.
40 second delay?
Yeah. So if you see, if there's a
How
storm,
far away was it?
40 miles.
It was 40 miles away.
40
on the
miles away
video?
when it exploded in the video, but you see and hear it explode at the same time.
Oh no, that's bullshit.
Exactly.
You know, speed only, sound only travels at like 600 something miles an hour. But you know, of course, light is fucking light speed. You know, million miles per hour or some shit, a couple million. Wow, that's fucking interesting, man.
Have you seen this one already? Laser test at 10.3 miles. Was it this had the mirror, didn't it? Pointed right at the mirror. There should be 62.22 feet of drop where the Earth drops, so the laser would actually be like pointing up by the time it gets to the mirror, but it didn't. It got to the mirror just fine, bounced back. So
That's it. Shit like that is kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that make you think twice, man. I'm serious, man.
But we're not out here to convince anybody the Earth is flat. All we're doing is giving you the tools to do the research for yourself. Because if you had this conversation with us and we convinced you that the Earth was flat, you're no better off than when someone convinced you the Earth was a globe.
What does the government think about this type of shit, man?
I think that they're finally letting it get out little by little, because what's the best way to keep the public from panicking is people get to hear about it in bits and pieces, figure it out for yourself. Because if they just all of a sudden came and said, like if a big spaceship showed up in the sky and be like, oh, aliens are real, you know, people would freak out. But if it was like a gradual planting of seeds here and there, people started figuring it out on their own. So that's what I think is going on.
Y'all believe in aliens?
I believe in extraterrestrials. They're coming from the extra territory that is beyond the Antarctic ice wall.
All the wording,
That's why they're extraterrestrial, extra
all the
territory.
wording is so significant in this.
Oh yeah, oh hell yeah.
Extraterrestrials, right? Terrestrials, terrain.
Yeah.
Extra terrain, extra land.
It's like planet. Let's drop the T off the word planet. What's it say? Plane. That's what we live on, a plane.
I believe you. Just like, well, no man, that's just some shit to take. That's a whole lot of shit to take
The
in.
best thing is look into it on your own time, your own thing.
I ain't lie, if
Look
it
into
wasn't
it.
for y'all, I'd be like, man, this fucker's crazy. Y'all got me thinking about it now. Y'all really got me thinking about this shit. Man.
That's all we ask is people wake up and think.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and, you know, that's the biggest thing out here in the world. People don't think for their fucking selves. You know, everybody been told what to do since they was a fucking child, and they live their whole life like that. Goddamn, this motherfucker tell you what to do and you fucking do it.
When you think of like an ocean liner, right? Big ship, cargo ship, whatever, right? Floating on the water, right? And then it gets to Australia, right? That's upside down, supposedly, right? How's that big ocean liner upside down? How come we never seen pictures?
To believe
How
is
come
gravity.
Yeah, we've never seen pictures of anything upside down. Give me a picture of the world, and give me a picture of a plane flying upside down, or a ship floating upside down. But they can't. That's why you've never seen it. They can't do that.
And they say fucking gravity.
And one thing about
that's the
gravity,
magic word.
I know you keep going back to it, and you're talking about it's a force
Like
pulling.
you said, it's a theory.
It's a theory, and you
Can't prove it.
keep
Can't
describing it as a force that pulls things down. But every test to ever try to prove gravity went off the assumption that it's pulling things down. What if the barrier up there? Because we've established in our talk earlier that everything is electromagnetic. We live in an electromagnetic universe. What if the barrier is pushing things down? And there is no gravity.
On a regular basis, man, whenever I
It's
get the
electromagnetic
opportunity
barrier, and it pushes things down, and that's what
if
the
we
force is.
disregard the BS we would
Now, I can't prove that,
indoctrinate
but that's just
with,
my
it's
own
kinda
personal
rational.
theory.
I used to say common
But it's something to
sense,
think
but
about.
common is a bad word.
Because you can't just go into an experiment making assumptions you can't prove and then come up with a result and claim that's a law, because you went in with assumptions that can't be proven. So your whole test is invalid.
That's possible. Is if the sun is doing this. There's no way in the world that if the earth is doing this, that the sun will rise in one direction and set.
Yeah, how
what is it? Rise in the west, set in the east. One of them. That's impossible. If the sun ain't doing this. Think about that.
Like, okay, I know you're saying like the flat earth theory. All right. So you said we got the sun on one side, the moon on the other side, like I seen on the picture.
Well, not always. Sometimes they're together.
Sometimes the sun and the moon are together.
Right. They
One
travel
moves
at different
faster than
speeds.
the other.
So they travel around the Tropic of Cancer, which is right here, and then the Tropic of Capricorn. And over a course of a year, it travels back and forth between the two. That's what causes the seasons. And it rotates around the Earth. And since it's close and localized, it's light on this side and dark on this side. And that's why you get that effect over there. As the sun moves around the plane, it fades away, not sets. Like in that video you watched earlier.
Oh, and that's how you get your eclipses and all that shit.
Right. So when you see an eclipse, so the lunar eclipse. Remember hearing a couple years ago there was that eclipse. The shadow went across the United States. What was the width of the shadow?
Now, if
It was pretty big.
70 miles. Show me in an experiment any object that can produce a shadow smaller than itself.
Considering that it disappears only.
The moon's 2,500 or 2,100 miles across. It's producing a shadow that's 70 miles across. How is that possible?
The moon's 2,100 miles across.
That's what they claim.
You feel me? Like, in other words,
I would say this.
do this.
You know, and this how I would think. You know,
It can't be doing
if it
this.
was a street lamp right here shining down on me, wherever you see my shadow, it could look longer depending upon the angle.
It'll never be smaller.
See how it's doing this. That to me scientifically doesn't make sense for the way.
He said it would never be smaller.
You cannot produce an experiment where you have a light source shining on something and it produces a shadow smaller than itself.
Right. But that's the gist of it. The light that we see, the rays.
That's how we know it's not what they're saying it
Well,
is.
they could say it's relative to the distance, though.
You can come up with whatever experiment you want to. I can take a ball and hold a flashlight to it, and no matter what the distance is between the two, the shadow will never become smaller than the object casting.
It has to be moving. Right.
Okay. But,
Right. It has to be moving.
I got you.
I can't
It's
see how it's
casting
doing
out
this
right here.
as opposed to this.
Say this is the sun.
Right.
This is the moon.
Okay.
We're having a lunar eclipse right
Right.
here.
So the shadow on the table will never be smaller than that ball that's representing the moon.
It'd be like a light in front of you on this side, and you walking by a wall, and the action figure shadow is on the wall. You'd never see a shadow the size of an action figure from you, a grown man.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make sense. So the shadow from the moon's only 70 miles wide.
It's more like this, right? It's so far away
I think that it was causing.
the light that
I think
actually
that it
gets
was
to this,
causing
it always has
his
to be
brain. You know what I'm saying? Because of the blood type.
It can't be like a cone at this
But
point. It has to be parallel or extremely close to parallel.
So what I used to do,
A shadow from the moon, if it's projectile or anything behind it, it's not going to be spread out.
Since light spreads, right? Since light spreads, since I have the light that's coming around, that's making it around, putting that right there, kind of brighten that area up a little bit.
It would make the shadow larger.
It will make the shadow larger.
Right. It can't make a shadow smaller. Because you would have the shadow, and then you would have it slowly kind of fade out until it becomes no more shadow. But the shadow will never be smaller than the object that's casting.
It's only shining in one area.
I never even fucking thought about that shit like that.
Yeah, because they don't teach us that kind of stuff in school. They show us a globe, and they don't ever say, hey, pick it up and look on the bottom of the globe. So let's take this globe, for example. Let's pick it up and look on the bottom of it. Oh, not for educational use. That's on the bottom of every globe. Every globe has a sticker.
Educational purpose, but only decorative purpose. Why is that?
Unless they pull the sticker off, it's on the bottom of your globe. Because it's not real, it's a decoration.
And so it can't be used for inaccuracy.
Wow, that's fucking. And every globe in the world is like that.
Yeah, unless they peel the sticker off.
Maleficent, it's just such a small time like business that doesn't own it. They just put it on or something. But
or it's real
a
old.
lot of globes have it.
Wow, that's fucking ridiculous, man.
So what's the how's the oldest globe known? What year?
Probably fucking maybe what 1700s or none of that.
1492. What else happened then?
Christopher sailed the ocean blue.
It's funny how all this stuff is lining up the same year, right?
Yeah.
Operation Fishbowl, 1959, NASA. You know what Operation Fishbowl is? Where they fired the nukes into the sky to see if they could penetrate the dome that was up there. And you can see the videos of it hitting something and rippling out. Because the government tried to do that in 1959. Also, the Antarctic Treaty was formed. You can't travel below the 60th south parallel. You can petition the government for it. But just the application costs $2 million. You can go on a cruise down there, but they take you to spots like the Shetland Islands and things like that and tell you you're in Antarctica because the Shetland Islands have penguins on it. And people are like, oh, wow, that must be Antarctica because I can see penguins, but you're not actually seeing penguins. Or you're not actually in Antarctica. You can see penguins, but you're not there. And they have like a ceremonial pole there. They're like, hey, this is the South Pole. Well, it's not the South Pole. It's the island off the coast of South America.
As it's spinning, when it's summertime,
That's fucking crazy, man.
So the Antarctic Treaty, one of the first lines in the treaty says it was put in place to protect the fauna and floral in Antarctica.
What is
So
that?
plants and animals. So the pictures we see of Antarctica, they're all ice, right? And you see some penguins walking around. How many photos have you seen in video showing plants?
Not one. How could there even be a plant whenever it's too fucking cold?
All right, so why is that in the treaty?
Fucking full of shit or something, man.
And last I checked, there's 162 ships stationed below the 60th south parallel belonging to militaries, the 54 signatories of the Antarctic Treaty. And the Antarctic Treaty forbids military activity in Antarctica, but there's 162 ships down there. Why is that?
Yeah, and Russia's down there doing this shit all the time.
All 54 countries are down there doing it.
Fucking ridiculous, man. All right, it sounds like some. Yeah, and they're trying to like do shit down there. I mean, something's going on down there.
Scientists said they got lost down there in Antarctica, and they were going to die, and they were kind of like worried. They're like, "Oh man, we're lost. We're going to, freeze death out here." Not only did an army show up from Chile, an Argentinian Navy showed up with Navy SEALs, the Argentinian Navy SEALs, and also their Air Force came in to lift them out. If there's no military activity going on down there, why is there 3 different branches of military from 2 different countries showing up to rescue people?
There's all kind of shit going on. Like I said, that's the fucking government, man. It's so much shit, that the government conceals that I really don't. I'm honest. I really don't know what the fuck's going on out here, man. 'Cause this shit is fucking crazy. They already lie to us about every fucking thing and try to keep everything else fucking covered up so we don't know shit. I mean, I don't know. You just got me fucking think. I know the government full of shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, it really is a fucking, they got their own fucking thing. All these rich motherfuckers, they got their own shit going. And they ain't letting poor people in on it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
To us, we're
We
just
live
their
on a
peasants.
finite space with finite, limited resources, so we fight amongst ourselves. But if there's more land and more resources beyond Antarctica, we would no longer need to fight amongst ourselves, and they would lose their control.
Exactly. Just go to a different planet or some shit, right?
No, different part of the plane.
Different part of the plane.
There you go.
Oh, because it's only a plane.
It's a plane.
So it's like, just this shit is like 3D.
No, it's a plane. But people say the universe is infinite. Why can't the plane also be infinite with, infinite rings like the Earth here, centrical circles going around it?
So what do you think that what do you think that the planets and all of that are, or what we call planets anyway?
We don't know what they are. We
So
can
nobody
take
really
photos
knows.
of them. Nobody knows, and anything that I tell you now would just be speculation. I don't want to speculate on stuff I don't know about.
I just got touched by a spirit or some shit. I don't know. I'm just fucking thinking about that, man. So you're saying that we've never been into space, period.
No.
You can't get outside this dome.
Nope.
And the Earth is flat as a motherfucker.
Later, brother.
And we can prove it.
And we can prove it.
All space is fake.
All
Totally
space
fake.
is
It's
fake.
cartoons.
That's fucking crazy.
That's
man.
crazy.
Hey, look, that's fucking crazy, dude. I'm telling you, but you know,
I'm
I
so
can't
happy
prove
I got
that
that
it's
video.
not, man. It's fucking crazy. Hey, fuck, that's crazy, dude.
Well, you got the information now and the resources to do the research, so
Yeah, man.
just
Hey,
look into it, man.
I
It's great to meet
appreciate
you.
it, man. Yeah, nice to
One
meet y'all
love,
too,
dude,
man.
for sure, man.
Fuck, yeah, hey, dude, I'm gonna start researching this because I ain't gonna lie. Like I said, I would have said, man, them fuckers are crazy. You know, like flat Earth, like whoever
Hey,
said.
I'm
But
gonna
you
end
know
the
what?
video, but be like this guy.
Didn't
right
they say
here.
they used to
This
say the
guy's
Earth was flat
awesome.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
See y'all later. Peace out.
You know what? They might have knew more than we knew back then.
Yep,
You know?
I agree.
Hell yeah, dude. As we go along, I guess we get dumber. Some of us
Some of us do.
listening to these fucking political figures and bullshit that they fucking got, dude. I don't know. That's the shit, you know. All